All right, hello, welcome. So this is basically going to be the first session regarding our tool DDB. And in this session, I'm gonna go over some basic configuration file come with DDB, and gonna give you a little bit brief discussion regarding some technical background on DDB. So I assume right now you have finished all the setup indicated in the documentation I provided with you. Now you can go to this debug panel, and in the spec or in the documentation, I mentioned like you can click this button to start a DDB session, right? So let's go over into detail about like what kind of configuration file actually behind the scene. Okay, so now let's click on this gear button. You can see it opens up the launch.json file, which is a file to specify how to launch a debugger in this case. Okay, and this file exactly you can also find this file exactly in this location. Is inside this VS Code JSON sorry launch.json file. Okay. And inside this file, you can see we are starting a program called DDB, okay? And for rest of the thing, it doesn't really matter too much here. The most important thing here is the config file path. Essentially, when you start a DDB, it needs you to provide a configuration file, which can specify some other things DDB needs to know during the startup time, okay? And this file points to a path to the local workspace folder, which is essentially just the root folder you can see from here. And is inside the DDB folder. It's called debugger auto discovery.yaml. Okay. And you can also find this file in this location. Let me click on this thing. Okay. So you can glimpse through all of these configuration files. Um, the most important thing here is there's something called service discovery. Okay, so what does it mean for service discovery? It means like when you start some application, you don't have to manually attach the application to the debugger. Okay, debugger will automatically discover your service or your application and automatically attach your service or application to the debugger itself. Okay, so this is auto service. Sorry, this is auto service discovery. Okay, and here by default we provide this information which comes with a host name. The host name should be identical to the IP address that the machine you are running the DDB. Okay, so if you want to really check with this IP address, you can go to your terminal. Let me open up the terminal. Okay, and then you can see, sorry, IPA with show. Okay, you can show or you can see a list of IP address right now on your machine. And this IP address should be listed. Let me find this IP address here. Yeah, it's listed right here. Okay, this is IP address belongs to one interface. Okay, and right now we're gonna use this interface card. Okay, so you can see this IP address is corresponding to this IP address assigned to this interface card. And in other cases, you might run into a different environment, use a different IP address. You may want to change this IP address in this configuration files. Okay, all right, sounds good. Now, I mentioned a little bit about like when we're doing the search discovery, the DDB will automatically discover the application you starts, right? And the application you starts will automatically be connected by the DDB. So how does it actually work? So essentially, we also need a little bit change in our application side. Okay, so let me open up this node.c++ file, and this is where exactly I made some changes. Now, at the beginning of this file, I include something called DDB integration.hpp. This is header file, okay? And this is a library we provide with DDB. It's something called we call it as DDB connector, okay? So for any application want to use service discovery feature, they're gonna need to use DDB connector to do the integration work, okay? Now let's go back to the actual location where we need to change the file. So these three lines I added here is the three lines which initialize the DDB connector and tell the DDB connector which address I should report to the DDB itself. So DDB itself know where to find our newly started application. In this case, we're gonna running this node application on this particular machine, and we also gonna use this IP address. Okay, so if in some other cases, you may run in the application in a different machine which use a different IP address, or even the same machine but with different IP address, you may need to modify this thing to the IP address you want to use. So by doing so, the DDB can correctly locate your application. Okay, so right now, because we want to make it a little bit easier for you guys, we literally just hard code this IP address right here. But in the real world, I would say probably would be better choice if you can make this as a flag. So when you start an application, you could provide the IP address. It will be more easier. So you don't need to compile every time. Okay, you will want to change the IP address here. Okay, that's all for this session. Hope you get a basic understanding of how DDB works and how it looks like on the code level.